welcome to Good Grief, a podcast dedicated to demystifying and destigmatizing grief with compassion and humor. I'm Nikki, I'm an end-of-life doula and a grief coach in Columbus, Ohio. And today we're going to talk about comfort. Isn't that the pleasant subject, pleasant word, all happy things, comfort. So we're going to talk about comfort during your times of grief. Too much, too little, just enough, the three bears of comfort. Let's think about comfort and what comfort means to each one of us. Whether it's a nice, snuggy, warm blanket curled up on the couch with a cup of coffee or tea and a good book, whether it's a hug, whether it's just having a nice place to live. Like, comfort means different things to all of us, but comfort is that one thing we seek out the most. There was a famous psychological experiment you've probably heard of. It's the Harlow's rhesus monkey experiment. It's one of those things, if you've ever taken Psych 101, even if you haven't, you've probably heard about this experiment. Basically, the Harry Harlow, the man who, did this experiment, removed baby rhesus monkeys from their mothers just a few hours after their birth. Wow. But he placed them in an environment with inanimate mother surrogates. There was one that was just kind of made out of wires and not really soft or nice, but it provided food to an attached baby bottle thing, so that it was the baby monkey got its food. The other one, they made a surrogate mother out of really soft cloth materials, but didn't provide any food. And he wanted to see how the monkeys would respond and interact with their surrogates. First of all, just thinking about this really hurts my heart. I know it was, important research, but I just picture these poor little babies without their mamas, and it hurts me. So anyway. But prior to this, a lot of people kind of were under the impression that the bonding between caregiver and child was just basically the caregiver was giving the child their physical needs for food, right? But I think he was starting to think there was more to that there was comfort involved. And, obviously they found out, in this experiment, all the baby monkeys were spending more time with that cloth mother that didn't even provide food, but just provided warmth and comfort. And they would just kind of sneak over to the wire thing made mother thing just for their food and then go right back to the other one. So, comfort is built into us. We seek it out and we desire it. We want it. Okay. So all that's to say, when we are hurting and at our worst moments, especially during grief, we will seek comfort. It's a natural inclination. It's deep within us. It's in our instincts. So, and I talk a bit about that in my episodes on, doing what's good for you, self-care, things like that. As you would think I would say, it's okay and it's good to seek out comfort when you're hurting, especially in times of grief. So where's the bad thing in this, right? You're waiting for it. Is there such thing as too much comfort? So something I've brought up multiple times in podcast episodes is you can't just ignore your grief forever. You can't distract yourself forever. So yes, seeking out comfort is a good thing, and it's something we need and desire and want, and is, again, ingrained within us and our instincts, right? But is there such thing as too much comfort? If you continue to distract yourself and you don't face your grief and you don't work with your grief, it's never going to go away and it's only going to get worse. So yes, there is such thing as too much comfort. But, let's look at the other side of that. There's such thing as not enough comfort. If you're not letting yourself feel comfortable and you're just hurting all the time, that's not going to do anybody any favors, right? Now, all this to say, I can't tell you what is enough and what is too much comfort. That's going to be different for everybody. So that's going to have to be something you figure out on your own, or, with help. A therapist or a grief coach can help you kind of discover your limits, what's enough, what's not enough, what's too much. But if you feel like your grief is still impacting your life day after day after day after day, you're probably not dealing with it. So you're probably giving yourself a little too much comfort. This is one of those unpopular opinions I have sometimes. Like, I'm all about self-care. I talk about it a lot here on this podcast. You have to take care of yourself. But I feel like self-care, and that term is being thrown around a lot, and it's also being maybe a little bit abused. There's a lot of opinion out there, like, you just always take care of yourself first. You always, just whatever, like, lay down and take that nap. And yes, that's true, and that's good, and we do need self-care, but there is such thing as too much. If you're avoiding life, then you have to ease up a little bit. There's a saying in fitness that I've always appreciated and, tend to live by, is you have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. So there's going to be discomfort involved in life, right? You have to go to work every day. Nobody wants to go to work every day. Unless you really love your job, very few people want to go to work every day. But you got to pay your bills, right? You have to live. You have to have a roof over your head, and you can't do that without going to work every day. It sucks, right? I'm seeing a lot of this with my coworkers right now, and people not wanting to come back to the office. And I get it. I like working at home too, but I also recognize that I just need to be there. I'm required to be there. That's part of the job. So I'm showing up 3 days a week. I get to work remote 2 days a week. I think that's pretty amazing. A lot of places aren't letting people work remotely at all anymore. But there's a lot of people like, oh, I just can't come in. It's just too much. It's like, I get it. We've all been through a lot. Okay. But this is just a broad example of, sometimes too much self-care can be a bad thing. Too much comfort can be a bad thing. You get yourself too used to a certain level and you're not accomplishing anything. You're not getting anything done. Okay. So all that to say, there is such thing as too much comfort, and there is such thing as too much self-care. But it's not up to me, and it's not up to anybody but you to find that line and to find, where you fall on that continuum and how to work around it. Another example of this is something I struggle with personally. So I will bear this out to you, to the world, is when I have a night off, a night with nothing to do, I just want to lay on the couch, maybe have a glass of bourbon, a couple nice snacks, watch a crappy horror movie, because I love crappy horror movies, and relax and just play games on my phone, maybe read a book, and not talk to anybody. A lot of times I'll turn my phone off, or I'll, turn the vibrate off, put it upside down, and just check it every hour or so. But I just want to kind of be left alone to just chill, right? Now, if I start doing that every single night, what's going to happen to me? I'm not going to have any friends. I'm not going to have a life. I'm not going to experience anything. Every now and then on that night where I have nothing to do, I might go out and hang out with some friends. I might meet somebody for a one-on-one networking event. I might go see a play or go out, something like that. If I just go for that comfort, because some of you listening might be like, what's so uncomfortable about going out with friends? Well, for somebody with social anxiety, it can be a lot. Plus, if you break it down, all right, I have to get up, I have to put pants on, I have to make sure I've showered and I don't smell bad. And it's not just a matter of being there. It's a matter of getting ready and going and driving. And maybe I have to find parking. Maybe I don't know where I'm going. And there can be all sorts of awkwardness and weirdness involved. So it's not simple. It's easier to just stay home in my pajama pants and, watch movies and not talk to anybody. So there's a level of discomfort with getting ready and leaving the house. Maybe it's not uncomfortable or awful, but there is a level of work involved in that. So that's kind of what I'm getting at. And I feel like I'm straying really far away from the topic here, giving examples. But all that to say is, if you're dealing with grief and you're seeking out comfort, that's great. But if you're not leaving the house ever and you're only dealing with what's comfortable for you, you're only doing what's comfortable for you, you're not processing your grief. You're not experiencing your emotions. You have to experience a little bit of discomfort. There's going to be, I'll say, you have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. I'm not saying you have to feel crappy all the time, but sometimes you do. That's just how it goes. So if we think about comfort and grief, not enough comfort would be just never allowing yourself to sit at home in your pajamas or get your hugs or do whatever it is you need to do. Never do anything because you feel like it's self-indulgent or you don't deserve that. Too much would be consistently choosing comfort over doing things that might help you. Bringing up, a lot of times people don't want to face their grief because bringing up memories and thoughts of the thing or the person they lost is hard. It's painful. It's distressing. And it brings up, difficult emotions. And we don't want to feel those emotions, right? So you got to find that middle ground where you spend an evening at home in your pajamas, watching crappy horror movies and eating snacks and having a glass of bourbon. But also go to work during the week. Go out with friends from time to time. You have to find that middle ground. And going back to allowing discomfort, sometimes you have to just dive into that pool and feel the cold water to go swimming. Sometimes you just have to get through a little discomfort to experience something amazing. So you probably remember, if you've been listening to my podcast for a while, my husband and I hiked in Vermont last summer. We attempted to hike the entire length of the long trail, and we made about 2/3 of the way. But it was really hard work. It was really, really hard. We both had moments where we were in a lot of pain. I had a couple breakdowns. It was really uncomfortable. It was a lot of work. Our packs are very heavy. And there were, especially right after resupply, our packs were at their heaviest. We'd have tons of water on us because there wasn't water sources for a while. Like, it was uncomfortable. But then you get to the top of a mountain and you see these amazing views. Or even you just realize you've hiked 100 miles. And how many people do that? By the end, we had hiked 181. How many people can say they hiked 181 miles? Not a lot. There are people, obviously, that do it, and even more so, but how many people do that? Like, that's an amazing thing, but we had to go through a lot of discomfort to get to that. So, all this to say, you have to face your grief. You have to look at it. You have to deal with it. You have to feel the icky feels. And I always say there's no good or bad emotions, but we might say one emotion is bad versus another, but your emotions are just there. They exist, and they're for a reason. Okay? And you have to feel them. I'm sorry. That's how it works. So face your grief, guys. It's okay to seek out comfort. It's perfectly normal and it's good. But you have to feel a little discomfort too. Okay? Okay. So that's really all I have on that subject. I talked in circles a lot. So thank you for sticking with me if you've made it this far. All right. Since we are at the end of the episode, it is time for the Death Deck. Doo-doo. Okay, I added a doo-doo this time. I'm shuffling up the cards. I added a doo-doo. All right. Draw one at random. Okay. Oh, this is interesting. Heaven Scent, and it's SCENT. Name a scent that reminds you of someone who has died. This is a hard one. Gosh, I don't know. I'm trying to think of a scent I might associate. I can't think of a single thing that I associate with my brother. I mean, there's some bad ones. I can talk a lot about all the icky things my beautiful girl Yuna did before she passed away, because she puked constantly. Our house just smelled like cat vomit a lot. So there's that. But if we want to go on a more pleasant route, I can't think of a single thing. I can think of some scents that remind me of my mother, but she's still with me. Gosh, yeah, I can't. I can think of scents around people or places that I haven't seen or, been to in a long time that I miss greatly. But I talked a bit about hiking there at the end in our time in Vermont. The one thing I loved about Vermont the most was the smell. And I know that sounds weird, but the air was just cleaner there because, we were just out, really far from most civilization. We were close to cities, but nothing like cities, just towns, really. But, the air was just cleaner, but there were so many pine trees around us. It just smelled like Christmas. And I loved that. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I love the smell of Vermont. So, yeah, I guess that's it. I don't know. Okay. Well, thank you so much for tuning in. This is a somewhat shorter episode, and I kind of talked in circles a bit, but I hope you found something in this episode that helps you a little bit to understand some things about comfort and grief. If you really appreciate what I do, you can now support my podcast. There's an option on Spotify podcasting. If you look at the link for my site here, you can support this podcast. But if you would like some bonus content and you'd like to support me in my podcast, you can find me at Patreon, patreon.com/Nikki the Death Doula. I'm on all the socials, Facebooks, Instagrams, the tweeters. I'm Nikki the Death Doula on all of those. I do post the podcast episodes on my Facebook. I post them on every social media outlet. So I would, hope we could have some nice conversations there. But yeah. And as always, another huge shout out to BetterHelp for sponsoring this episode and any other episode that I mention it. Yeah, BetterHelp is there to help you with whatever. It's the world's largest therapy service, totally online. So no pants, no problem. With BetterHelp, you can tap into a network of over 25,000 licensed and experienced therapists who can help you with a wide range of issues. To get started, you just answer a few questions about your needs, preferences, and BetterHelp will match you with the right therapist. You can talk to your therapist however it works best for you. Text, chat, phone, video call, Zoom, Skype, whatever. You can even message your therapist at any time, schedule live sessions when it's convenient. So you don't have to miss work if you don't want to. And if for some reason your therapist isn't the right fit, you can find a new one. There's no fee for that. But you can get the same professionalism and quality you would expect from in-office therapy, but with a special therapist who is just picked just for you with more flexibility and more scheduling. And you can get 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/Nikki the Death Doula. And that's BetterHelp, HELP.com/Nikki the Death Doula. All right, guys. Again, thank you so much for tuning in. Please follow me on the socials. Please leave a review. That would be amazing. 5-star and even say a couple words too, because that's how people find me through the algorithms. I won't pretend to understand all that, but that's how it works. All right. Thank you so much. Have a beautiful week. And remember, your grief is yours. Your feelings are valid. Grief doesn't always have to suck.